Welcome everybody to the 10th. We made it to 10. It's amazing. Now we did make one change. We've gone to a once every 2 months. So you might notice that the last one we had was in April, and now we're at June. So we might continue that on because it just gives us a bit of a break, and it means that when we have something we can do is very much more special. You know me, if you don't, I'm Paul. I'm actually Mark's brother. And we've got a few things to do today. So first up, what's on today? We've got features and fixes with Adam, where he will go into detail and give us a screen share of what's been updated in Fleet. And then we've got a special guest, Chris from Greater Shepparton City Council, and he'll be talking about his implementation. We're going to ask him questions and put him on the spot, and hopefully he can give us some insights. So just a reminder that we are recording a session, and you can see the recording. The reason we record it is because a lot of people then ask us, can we watch the recording? So you can see the recording under the resources tab on the Formbird website. And if you want, you can also watch it at double speed, you know, get past the boring bits, or even jump using the timestamps that we add at the bottom. Okay, so let's get on with the news. The news, we've got some news. Formbird has been accepted onto 2 vendor panels. So for the local government procurement, which covers Queensland, NT and Tas, as well as another one, which is the New South Wales one. So these basically mean that local government has a direct link to procurement through Formbird. Okay, so and then now we've got a platform update from Mark.
Just a quick couple of notes, and Lachie can, I suppose, confirm this, but we've had a sign-off of UAT, which is the Greater Western Water's our first version 4, and I suppose our official Clarity launch, which is a version 4 platform, and then we're going to rebrand what was our focus name to Clarity. We've been using version 4 in sort of prototypey type mode, as you probably may have known. Some of you have heard we've got a project with Ricardo Engineering in Saudi Arabia. They're using actually the offline capability. So it's pretty significant. It's as always way later than what we wanted it to be, but yeah, it's a very exciting move. So I think we're just waiting on a few things to be exposed technically from a Greater Western Water point of view. So they've got a little bit more, you know, shook out a few things that everyone had to do that none of us had sort of put in our project plan, as these things tend to do. But we're basically got UAT sign off. I think we just completed sort of pretty hefty going pen testing and security review, and that's going to go live I think in the next, 2 to 3 weeks, Lachie?
Hopefully in the next week or two. Like I said, the UAT passed, the pen testing, we've got that report, so that's being reviewed today. And if that all goes well, then there's no reason that we can't get it in the next week or two. We definitely want to have it in well before end of financial year, just so that we're not impacting any end of month procedures. But yeah, I can't see why it wouldn't be in the next week or two.
Yeah, so that's great news. We've also got a couple of little projects that are really going to stimulate the offline capability, which we're very keen to then get back into Fleet, so we can really move forward with things like the daily driver check sheet being offline and a couple of the other capabilities. We see it's a really critical and exciting capability that we'll be able to leverage in different ways in both the Fleet app and all our other applications to really provide not only just offline capability, but being offline, it actually provides performance capability, because, you know, when you're running on a 3G, slow 3G network, you may as well be offline. So that's sort of our current technology news. So by the time we meet again, this should, well, definitely be all live and be well underway into the next sort of like the offline development and what have you. So what I'll do, I think, Paul, we're going to hand it over to Adam. I'd like to just sort of quickly introduce Chris, for those who don't know Chris, and Adam can sort of talk a lot more about Chris, because, you know, I've sort of I know Chris on the outskirts, but you know, Chris is from Greater Shepparton. Greater Shepparton joined us early in the year. Chris has worked his way through, and you can please fill in, Chris, because I don't want to either embarrass you or say the wrong thing. But
no, you're right.
From my knowledge of Chris, he's really worked his way through the whole council. He's now the fleet coordinator for Greater Shep. He also very technically capable, so he sort of developed a complete Excel masterpiece, which was running their entire fleet system. So he was very critical, and we had to meet a pretty high benchmark to get him to turn off his spreadsheet. So are we going to hand it over to Chris first or Adam?
Go Adam.
Go Adam? Okay, we'll go Adam.
Well, Adam, again, perhaps we can do your update after.
Yeah, Paul, you go with Chris now, and then the update after.
Yeah. Mark's looking at the order sheet. He's wrong. Okay, we won't do that. So, Chris, I'm going to actually pass back to Mark, who's going to ask Chris some questions. But first off, just how's the transition to fleet going?
Pretty good. I'm loving it. I'm just really loving it. Like the possibilities that I can see with the software just far exceeds what I could do in the Excel spreadsheet. But yeah, no, I'm loving it.
Right. Chris, kind of, I suppose if you could just sort of break down where have you seen, where are the things that we've had wins on and even where we've had losses on? What are the features that you are, leveraging, I suppose, within the platform or application?
Well, for me, it's just basically, I always looking at the assets side of the program, whereas my workshop manager, he's looking at the workshop dash all the time. For me, I'm just doing the back end stuff, so I'm uploading all the files for the assets, be it service manuals, our old service sheets, whatever it may be. We're implementing the workshop mechanics into the system. So I'm doing a lot of the back end stuff. So for me, the whole package is basically what we've needed here for the last 10 years. The spreadsheet that I made was good, but it needed to be more. And this is the more, so.
Right.
That's a very positive endorsement. Is there actually anything that hasn't gone as planned?
Just little things, like this morning I couldn't upload a file that was a certain size. So a little bit frustrating, but then you work backwards, you work it out, and then I was able to do that. Sometimes it's a little bit slow at our end, but then you just do a refresh and it sort of speeds back up for a while, and then it'll go slow. So just little things like that. But I think that's probably Shep's connection, because it's Shep. But not a lot of negatives in it, Paul. So
we didn't put words in his mouth.
No. I'm not putting words. I'm just wanting a bit more texture, a bit more sort of.
I'm trying to break the system,
right,
by learning the back ends and stuff like that. Not breaking it, so which is good.
Was there a light bulb moment when you sort of, because I mean you were pretty aggressive about getting it in. You're probably one of the most aggressive customers in terms of really getting data uploaded and all happening and what have you. At what point did you sort of suddenly say, yeah, this is actually going to work for me? Or what made you think that? Or, what's got you motivated at that point?
I don't know if I'm there yet, to be honest, because I'm still implementing. Unfortunately, I'm still going back to my spreadsheet occasionally. No, I don't know how to answer that just yet.
Yeah. Still pushing forward.
Yeah. I think once our mechanics are on board and they're using the tablets and they're adept at it, that's when I'll see it and go, right, I'll delete the Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah. How's the adoption going with the mechanics? Is there much resistance?
None at all. Like we've got 2 young mechanics that are very literate in computers, and then we have an older mechanic that we will help with computer stuff. But all 3 of them are going to get it very soon. I got one that's really excelling in it. One that unfortunately wasn't here when Adam came down for training. But he's getting on board, and yeah, the senior mechanic, he'll get there. Like they're doing well.
Are you providing them with tablets, or what are you provided with?
We're getting iPad tablets.
Yeah, cool.
So what I can't quite work out what stage you're actually at. So you've got it in the workshop. They're using it daily, or?
Yes, one mechanic's using it daily. The others are still learning. I believe we're ready to go live, but I'm just waiting on a few little things. And I keep saying that to Adam, like, oh yeah, we should go live this week. And then next week I'm going, we should go live this week. And then the week after it's, oh, we should go live this week. So hopefully we'll go live this week.
Yes.
You've had a key person off sick, haven't you, Chris? Has that been the biggest holder?
Pardon?
Having that key person off sick, was that the biggest holder?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes it hard.
Unfortunate timing, wasn't it?
It was unfortunate timing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, with the flu and COVID happening, yeah, just very unfortunate.
Yeah.
All right. So where do you think and where do you see the big bits of value add that you'll get when you have it up and running, Chris?
It's all in one screen for me. Like with my spreadsheet, like so with Fleet, I can just click on my asset item and I can scroll down. I can see everything that I need to see. I can use the tabs to go to the history, the service history, everything like that. It's all in one nice, neat spot. Whereas with my spreadsheet, yeah, it was a bit scattered. Like I had a lot of tabs, and if you didn't know how to use the system, you would struggle with it. I'm noticing with this one, with the mechanics, they jump in every day to use the asset side of things to get VIN numbers, engine numbers, etc. off it. And they just like it because it's all in one nice little spot. They don't have to go 5 clicks to get the one bit of information that's just there.
Cool.
So we used to have a program called Main Pack. It was very old. That was when I first came into this role as an admin support staff. And it was okay, and it wasn't, hence the spreadsheet. And this Formbird FLEET is the next evolution for Greater Shepparton to move forward in this department. And it's, I can't praise it enough, actually. It's just a ripper of a program.
This wasn't meant to be a kind of, a over glowing endorsement, which is what it sounds like. So,
I'm just being honest. Like,
stop being honest. No. Can you lie a bit? What is there anybody in the assembled community that have a question for Chris?
Chris or Marie, or there are a couple of other people who are very experienced here too.
Yeah, like Marie, you've had a recent problem which maybe you could tell us about, or tell the group about, and where you think, although it's not solved yet.
Yeah, well, I'm obviously experiencing something similar to you, Chris, in relation to the slowness. Work starts off, works fine, and then it slows down. Go out, go back in, starts again. I don't know if that's exactly what you're experiencing, but that's what we are experiencing.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, we think the only thing we can explain it with is might be some security setting or something in say Chrome or something like that, because there seems to be some small differential between like Marie's machines. We actually had Adam working in parallel while they were on site, and he would remain consistent. Yet the notebooks were slow, but the desktop was fine, wasn't it, Marie? It was
it's just strange.
Probably we're one of the things that we use is we're using the infrastructure of the browser quite extensively in terms of caching the application, and uses a lot of memory, a lot of it's pretty extensible the way it leverages, I suppose, the browser itself, being a web app, not a local app, and being a web app, and therefore there's a good chance that if there's any constraint on that within the browser, we're going to have problems. So anyway, it'd be nice to know what it is, because obviously then we can flag it out.
Yeah, definitely.
So Anthony mentions that he's also having the same speed issue. So yeah, it's clearly some kind of IT security setting. That sort of what it sounds a lot like. But there's something that's IT departments don't particularly want you to be downloading rubbish on the net, etc. And so they place limits on things like that. So whilst your other applications will normally work, something that's like Formbird, which is a cloud-based web-based app. Yes, which relies on accessing and pulling data from the net all the time. It must be triggering some sort of security, particularly the way that it seems to, as you said before, it starts off okay and then drops off completely. Okay, now Chris, you're still under the spotlight. Well, Mark, have you got any more questions to make him say glowing things about Formbird?
No. I think that's enough. Maybe we'll throw it over to Adam.
Okay.
So before you go, guys, so it's Brad here from Tenterfield. Chris, have you started down the path of trying to implement any daily plant checks with any of the outdoor staff there at all? Or
we have actually. I've got a few of our departments. I've selected like half a dozen workers in each department.
Yep.
That we started that a couple of weeks ago, and then it sort of went flat because of COVID and people getting the cold and everything like that. So we're actually kicking that off proper next week. So I'll probably have about 15 people starting to do daily drive check sheets, and hopefully flooding our system with it. So our workshop manager can start assigning jobs through the workshop dash and that. So we're really going to start some serious testing on that side of things very shortly. So
did you get any resistance from any of the guys, like with the change management that way, with them adopting something new?
No, because for the last 3 years we've been trying to implement it ourselves here via making our own apps, going through third-party software creators, etc. And when we went to tender with Formbird FLEET and we saw that was a possibility for us to do it, all that stopped. So we've just put all our eggs in one basket. So we're just going to go from there.
Yeah, cool. It's something that I fear a little bit here. We've got some older staff that basically don't want to embrace too much technology if they can get away with it. So, but we've been lucky. The payroll system here has gone electronic fairly not so long ago. So they've just had to deal with that. So I'm hoping I can ride the coattails in on the end of that and just say, well, this is how we're doing this now.
Yeah. Oh, look, I expect some resistance from our older staff as well. And out of our select group that we've got at the moment, we have included some of the older staff. And I think it's just because everyone has a mobile phone now as well that helps. And a lot of our crews out on the road, they will have tablets anyway, because we use other software to geoplot and everything like that for the works that they need to do. So probably we'll get some resistance, but we've been wanting this for a while, so I think that will pass quickly.
Yeah, I think the results with actually being able to see and audit whether or not defects have been put in and whatever else, we're all still paper-based here with that, and there's a lot of push and shove with, oh, yes, I submitted a defect report, and then you go, well, go and get your book, it's in triplicate, let's have a look, and oh, no, that book's gone now, and all that sort of stuff. So when it's all out there to be seen, I think a lot of that will disappear, and the results will probably yield yield some benefits, and they'll just adopt it because they can see that it's working. So I'm hopeful that's what will happen anyway. So.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like I get the weekly sheets come through a month later.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is just going to be instant, which is what we're looking at. So
cool.
And look, guys, in terms of that, we're no gurus, and there's always that juxtaposition with even that module. The juxtaposition being people wanting a whole lot and then it being too complex for the user base. It's kind of like we wanted to do everything. Oh, but it's too complex for the users to use. Oh, but that's too simple. There's not enough data there, sort of thing. So you're not nodding your head there, Brad. Yeah. So look, please keep us in that loop and talk about what's working or not working on that. And it could be that, because I know we've spent a fair bit of time, like we've gone through a couple of iterations on that questionnaire sheet and the way it works. We've gone from making it all mandatory to not making it mandatory, to have the not applicable, to having the question, the text fields, to having it signed off, all the rest of it. So it's obviously, it's going to be an area that if we can get right, then that's fantastic. I think it's also going to be the 80-20, where you are going to have 20% of people that are going to just whinge the hell out of about it because you're actually asking them to do something. That no software is going to fix, because it's just a matter of change management and all the other issues that are around that. So, but very open to refining it. But we'll have to be careful not to chase our tail on it. In terms of really, I suppose everyone has to be self-assessed in terms of this is really delivering the information people want, and can we do it any better? So please, keep us in that loop and keep us fed back. And if it's not working, let's try and diagnose it for what it is. Is it the user? Is it the technology? Is it the way we're presenting it? Whatever it is, how can we add value to the user? Often as soon as you can add a little bit of value to that user and make their life easier, suddenly it gets adopted. So I don't,
exactly.
So please, don't assume that we know what we're doing with it or that it can't be improved, because this is the sort of, that's the edge where you've got users, pedal to the metal, people hitting it hard.
It's one of those things. If it's anything like our payroll system adoption, you're not really going to know the answers until several months into it. There's a lot of resistance initially, as you say, because people are now starting to have to do something that they just don't want to do, or don't, it's just another thing for them to do. And now that they're learning the system, we're starting to really get some feedback on some of the bugs or some of the things that could be easier. So I think the journey's going to be several months down the track when you've got pretty much everybody using it out there, because to use a few test subjects out there, you might get a good run with some, and others that might just whinge, or they might all just get together and whinge. But if you've got the majority of your staff using it, you're going to get a bit more of a representative of how well it's actually using. And that's what we've found with the payroll app. At the end of the day, they've thought, all right, we're just going to have to get used to it. This is just how life's going to be from now on. And some of the initial problems that everybody was pretending were there disappeared, and then some of the ones that we could actually affect and make the app better was then coming forward. So I think it's going to be a bit of a time journey, that one.
Yeah. Often for these things, we've found when we're implementing, particularly bigger systems, Lachie can attest to this, to the larger systems, is that there's kind of a bit of a white knuckle period where you've just got to kind of push through, support the people as much as possible, almost over support. I know in the very, very early days at the Sea West Water, we had a couple of people that just were runners. It was like over servicing the field staff. And, they actually enjoyed the love more than the software type thing, and the over love actually forced them to go, well, yeah, it is actually me. I've got the actual problem, because they get embarrassed almost by the point someone says, well, this is how you do it. Yeah, I kind of did know that, okay, well, I'll start using it, sort of thing. So, there's that change management is, like you said, just a bit of can be a white knuckle ride for a little period.
Yep.
And it really is an opportunity to identify those power users as well, because the people that complain tend to either be the people that definitely don't want to do it, or could see that it could be improved as well. So if they are the latter, where it's the people that are going, look, we don't like it because it could be doing this better, that's really the opportunity to take them under your wing and say, all right, how should we be doing it? And if you bring them along with that, then they become the power users. And if they were the most difficult to start with, then as new users come on and adopt the system and start using it, then you can say, well, this is Joe. He had a problem with it to start with, but we brought it around. We really listened to you guys, and it's that acknowledgement that you're not going to get it right the first time on implementation. It'll be very close, but it may just be the small things that, one or two questions that they really don't understand why we're asking it or why we're not asking it. So it is a good opportunity to reassess, that month or a couple of weeks post implementation to really get down with those key personnel and get some good feedback.
Yeah, thanks, Lachie. Yeah, of all people in the room here, Lachie's had by far the greatest experience in terms of user base. I don't know, they've got 200 users in the field now, something like that. So it's a pretty significant user base. We throw it over to Adam.
Yeah, before I just wanted to thank everybody who contributed to that discussion.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, it was really great. And thank you
Thanks,
very much,
Chris.
Chris. Yeah. Okay, you probably won't be getting any more chances to do glowing endorsements, but
I could just jump in.
anytime you want, just anytime, just jump in.
Yeah, please do, Chris.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
Do you want to say how nice Adam is?
Yeah.
He's really cool, like very helpful.
Everyone loves Adam. All right, so well, speaking of Adam, give it to us, Adam.
All right. Can everyone see my screen there?
Yep.
Great, fantastic. So I've got a few things to go through today. The first one was I wanted to give everyone a bit of an update on the export tools. So Paul's been doing a lot of work on continuing that kind of evolution of the export tools. So I'll just run you through a quick example. So this is in our development environment, so it's obviously not out to production environments yet. I'm just going to go down to my report section, and so part of something we've become aware of is that there's a lot of different reports in this report section. So one of the things we've done to streamline or consolidate the items is just combine all the exports into the one place. Except I needed to not put an S on there. So we've got all our export lists under this link now. So you can see we've built in some new export tools for different documents. So you've got your allocations, your asset expenses, your asset exports, fuel receipts, and whatever else. So I'll just run you through a quick example of using the fuel receipts. So what we kind of had before, where we were before this latest improvement, was these checkboxes that you could select. So you could unselect and then select which ones you wanted to report on. So maybe you wanted your registrations and your asset IDs and the costs of all the transactions that you'd put through Formbird. And then you could press the download button to download just those fields. But what was abundantly clear from very early on, and this has kind of always been our intention with this, is that it's kind of tedious to click the checkboxes every single time you want to run a particular report, particularly something that you want to do quite regularly. So what we've done is we've actually added the ability to save it. So you can say that this is my fuel transaction cost export or something like that. And then I can save that. And it will actually save my selections on the checkboxes. So if I navigate to this other one, you'll see that I've selected some different checkboxes on this one, and it's saved those selections now there. You can put in a start and end date as well. So if you want to see transactions for a particular period, so maybe I want, May to the end of May, yes, a couple of days ago. And then I can press my download button and that will download that CSV file, which I won't go into. So that's good. Yeah, the improvements to the export tools there. If you wanted to create a new one from this page here, you can always use the new document button up here. And that allows you to select your new checkboxes. You also don't have to save it as well. You can just straight up select a few checkboxes, fields to export on, and just click the download straight away. So there's not that requirement to actually save a document every single time. Any questions on that at all? All good? Can continue? Hopefully, I see this as like hopefully something that improves helps a lot of people with their business processes, particularly when they're interacting with other areas of the business, because there's lots of, it's certainly working with Brimbank recently, and Shep, there's lots of different reports that you want to be running for particularly finance. Moving on to the next bit. Before I talk too much about this one, so I'll just close some of my tabs here. I just wanted to quickly bring up that we've made a bit of a naming convention change to the service configurations. So we've got those two service configurations. One was kind of the original one, and then we created a second one to serve a slightly different purpose, which we kind of termed logbook at the time, for want of a better term. But we've come up with some better namings for those. So I'll just quickly show you those. Well, hopefully better namings for those. So the old one was called service configuration. We've changed that to being periodic, given the concept that each of the services selected under a periodic service configuration repeats at a specific period. So it's not a particular order. It's what the interval is that drives when it recurs. And then the logbook service configuration, what that was, now sequential. That's based around a set of repeating services that occur in a specific sequence, and then that repeats. So that's just a little naming convention change before I move on to this next section.
Adam, excuse me.
Yes, please.
Just got a question from Lauren. Can reports be scheduled to run automatically?
Not using those export tools, no.
I just actually replied there too, Lauren. Not in terms of that specific tool, but the platform itself has a internal scheduler. So if there are specific things like that, we can create schedules for all sorts of things in terms of the platform capability. So yeah, there is a capability, and we use the scheduler for doing things like escalation and workflow and all sorts of things. So the capability is there within the environment, but it hasn't been built into that export per se.
Thanks, Mark. The next item that I wanted to run through today, which is a bit more of a meaty one, I think, and I probably don't have the best, it's not as easy to work through on the screen, but it's around service adjustment. So, if I complete my service yesterday and I've got another service schedule in a year, does that adjust essentially? And that's an option on the service configuration that you can choose. So I'll just kind of run through where this came from as well. So it came out of Mark went up to Bundaberg about 2 months ago, was it, Mark?
Yeah, it'd be about 2 months ago, yep.
Yeah, and had a discussion with Bundaberg, a bit of a workshop with Bundaberg about how services should adjust to essentially stay within warranty requirements, right?
Yeah, so maybe can I kick in there?
Yeah, absolutely, please.
Yeah, so look, we've probably gone around in circles a little bit on this, and it's actually quite amazing how few people could actually give the definitive answer on this. And Bundaberg themselves, despite them being, probably one of our largest workshops, really hadn't figured out what the whole correct approach was for rescheduling services. And Donnie up there actually spoke to about 5 manufacturers, Vico and a whole bunch, and no one could actually give us the definitive rules of how do you stay within warranty. Now, hopefully all of you guys say, oh, that's obvious, this is how it works. But it turned out it wasn't that obvious. No, it certainly wasn't to me. So we actually, because we'd sort of let the service scheduling had sort of evolved, and we never felt it was quite right, and they couldn't feel it was quite right. But it was all about, you've got your manufacturer's schedule, and then if you service before a date or after a date, and this is for both consumption and a date, when do you schedule the next date in, and what is that date, and how far can you let things go to stay within what the manufacturer requires you to be in order to stay within warranty. In the end, it wasn't horrendously complex, but there was a number of rules that perhaps weren't quite as obvious when you look at a standard manufacturers, 12 months, 10,000K, 12 months, 10,000Ks, because it's all of the examples of one going over, you do the service too early because, just it's convenient. And then when does the next one occur? Or you do it too late because you're running out of schedule or resources, or the guys brought in too late. When is the next date? So it was about both the data and consumption, about realigning that to actually follow what manufacturers wanted us to do, in effect. So there's been a hell of a lot of work on that, and a hell of a lot of work in terms of how that does get reprogrammed. So I'll let and perhaps if anyone is really keen to actually know the full sort of the rules and logic behind it, or want to challenge it, which we're more than happy to have people challenge it. But I think we've pretty much got it right now. And Bundaberg actually did a desk audit. There was about 3 or 4 of them who pulled out all of the whole bunch of manufacturers and looked at our rules that we were implementing, and then did a desk audit on making sure that it followed what they would actually recommend. And we believe we've got it right now. So it's been a bit of a journey, I must say, because poor old Paul and Adam being pulled pillar to post. People saying, no, it should do this, no, it should do this, no. And we never actually had a definitive answer of how to stay within the manufacturer's schedule and stay within warranty. So I'll hand it back to Adam, but don't be surprised if it's a little bit confusing at the moment, or you need a greater explanation of how it's all calculated. And as we roll this out, we'll put some training and stuff.
Yeah, so I'm not going to go into lots of detail about this, but I do want to kind of give a bit of an idea of kind of what it was before, just so everyone's on the same page, and then kind of a simple example of what it will be. But then also, I think really critically, what kind of the implications are, because there are a few implications for our customers. So essentially, what it was before, if you ticked adjust services on the service configuration, when I complete a service, it's saying, yes, I want to adjust the next one based on when I did this one. And it was a really simple calculation, basically. It was like, if I, completed, my service was due on the 1st of June, and I completed it on the 2nd of June, when would my next one be completed? It'd be completed by adjusting the next one according to a calculation of, the date of this one minus the date that it was actually due, or the difference between those dates. So the next one, if it was due every 12 months, will be due on the 2nd of June next year, for example. Again, keeping it really simple, not overcomplicating it. So what it will be now is essentially just, it's been changed to eliminate schedule creep. So another simple example, my car is serviced every 12 months. It's due on the 1st of June. I actually service it on the 15th of June this year. When is my next service due next year? And the calculation essentially will be, well, you actually serviced it late, so the next service will still be due on the 2nd of June 2023 rather than being adjusted further out. And then if you completed it early, so say it was due on the 1st of June, I actually completed it on the 15th of May, it's saying, okay, well, when should the next one be next year? And it's basically going to bring that service forward slightly to be a year from the 15th of May. To ensure that the vehicle is still being seen at the appropriate times. That's keeping it very simple explanation in the interest of time.
I guess everyone in the group understands that. It doesn't sound like Adam's talking.
Did you understand, Paul?
I'm trying to follow it. Okay, I'm just trying to keep up. It sounds a little bit like
you're
Dr.
my barometer,
Seuss.
Paul.
It sounds like Dr. Seuss to me. It's out of here and it's into there. So yeah.
The baseline is what the key to Adam's message was, that manufacturers don't want to see the creep of dates or utilization. They don't want to see, when they say 10,000 Ks, you can come under, but it has to be rescheduled 10,000 Ks from that 10,000, from the 9,500 Ks or whatever. They don't want to see it going out and out and out. So it's bringing it back in line, and that you're not in the end doing, your 20,000 Ks at 25,000 Ks or whatever it is. So it's making sure that certain events always stay under, not creeping over. That's the fundamentals of it. And that's both time and consumption, which is an interesting, which you've got to get both right at any one point in time.
And Lachie just makes a note. He's got a 4-year-old ute with 12,000 kilometres on it. So I'm just hoping it'll be up for sale at some point in time.
It'll be a good buy, but yeah, every time I book it in, they've asked me about 5 or 6 times now, because it's every 9 months whether it's due for its 10,000k service yet. So after 4 years, it finally got there.
More jaw rides. Sorry, Adam.
No, that's all good. And then we've made a few other changes around while. So what are the kind of implications? So to actually achieve this change, we realized we didn't actually have all of the data that we needed using the old configuration. So we've had to make some changes to the service details documents to be able to have all the data that we need to make those calculations essentially on when that next service should occur. So we've had to make some changes, and while we were there, we've done some improvements to the service configuration and different stuff. And we've also changed where that next service is adjusted from. So there was a good discussion about, at what point should that next service be adjusted? What date and time should be used for that calculation? And previously it's been on the closure of the request, or the work complete on the request. We've moved that to the work order here. So it's actually when the PM service work order relating to that service is completed, set to complete, that's the point in time which it adjusts. So this is the dialog box that's going to appear for the mechanics, to provide them some information about, okay, when was it scheduled? When was the next service scheduled? And when is it going to be scheduled now, essentially? That's what this dialog box is showing here. And I'm not going into too much detail deliberately, because I could speak for hours about, demonstrating the changes to the service configurations and whatever else. And I think it's going to be dealt with better later on a more individual basis. But this is a change that will be different for everybody. So to get the service details documents with the right data that we need, it will actually require rerunning service configuration. So this is the bit where I think the most effect is going to occur for everyone, or most people, I guess. But the way we're going to approach this is actually working through it on a customer by customer basis, and different customers might be affected differently depending on whether they're using adjust services, or whether they're using the sequential service configuration or the periodic service configuration and these kind of things. So it'll be a more complex implementation of these changes. But yeah, as I said, we'll work through each customer individually. So the next steps around this particular issue, we'd be aiming to do a beta release, and then from the beta release, we'll probably work through each customer one by one to do the production release. So it'll be a slightly different process for this upcoming release than it has been previously, just because of this added complexity. Any questions about that before I move on?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Yeah, any questions? No? All good? Okay. The next one is the display of the financial details on the asset, and also the status. So something that we were a bit of feedback that we got was that changing the asset status to disposed was a bit slow. And it's not going to work. We got a bit of feedback that it was a bit slow and clunky process, and that was largely around there being too much happening on this main view of an asset. So we've got all these fields here around classification and physical details and financial details, all of that kind of stuff. So to try and speed up the load of this main view and to make that changing asset status a bit more smoother, I guess. We've made some changes and moved some of this data off. So we've already got all of these views to see the history, the summary, etc. So what we've done is we've actually moved the financial details, all these financial details, off to a separate view, and we've also moved the status off to a separate view as well. So I'll just move across to my next tab here. So you'll see here, this is the higher rate / financials view of the asset. So you can see all our financial fields here now, and combined with the higher rate data as well. And then we've also got a new asset status view as well. So I'll just move over to that one. So given that it's in its own view, it's going to be much faster, it's going to load much faster and respond much faster. So if I change it to disposed, immediately those next fields show up, and I can say, you know, I traded it in. I can select my trade in date, my name of the trader, trade value, and all of that. And it all happens very fast and at a high speed. The thinking behind moving these particular fields off, so the status and the financial details off the main view of the asset, is that we felt, and we got a bit of feedback as well, that they're not used that often. Like, it's not that often in the life of the asset that you actually change its status, and it's not that often in the life of the asset that you actually change any financial details about it, and you probably don't want to reference those all the time. So they're still there if you want to access them. But yeah, we're trying to make that main view of the asset really that core information that you want to reference a lot. So you'll be numbers and creating requests and that kind of stuff. Any questions about that? Make sense? Happy? Good change? Bad change? I'll move on.
Move on.
Yep. I'm going to leave a minute, like a breath, for someone to unmute their microphone and ask a question. Yeah, a little bit of silence in between.
Just one thing, Adam.
Yes, Paul.
When you do that change on the alternate view for status, you can still see that change on the main view. So you can still look at the main view and get some information about what the status is and whether it needs disposed. So it doesn't actually. It's really just about the changing of that status, which is moved off.
Yeah, it's a good point, Paul. I'll just show you that really quickly. So yeah, on the main view of the status, main view of the asset, sorry, you've still got a status button here. And we tried to make that much more visible about what that status is by coloring according to the status. And if you want to access that to change the status, you can use your views up the top here, these buttons, or you can simply just click on this as well, and that'll take you to that status view so that you can change the status. Thanks, Paul.
Hey, Adam.
Yes, David.
Here. Just a quick question on the financials. We had the conversation when you visited us the other week around capturing all the detail for whole of life costs, but also the different calculations around what was classified for FBT. Is there any thought around adding those extra boxes into the financial panel?
I think part of this change is to enable us to more easily add new fields without the fear of slowing down the load time. What those fields are that we will need to add, that hasn't been worked on further since I was out there last week. But it's definitely something I'd certainly be interested in. I think I speak to Paul and I, interested in what all the councils want. You know, if there is enough financial information on this page for the asset, or whether there does need to be a more granular breakdown of different costs and calculations.
I think we'll find that everyone has to comply with federal government FBT compliance, so the calculation should be one that just complies with the tax ATO office, such as the base cost, including GST plus non-operational accessories. It's pretty defined there. So if we're able to have those boxes, then come the end of the financial year or FBT year, you can then quickly calculate them, as opposed to from fleet management. I might want to know the whole of life costs. I want to know everything excluding GST, because typically we claim that back. So there's if it's got all that detail in there, then we can produce reports to then do what we need to do.
Yep.
How do people get utilisation for FBT?
Go on, sorry.
Sorry, yeah, we use driver changes. So whoever's driving the vehicle, the odometer readings at the start when they drive it, the odometer reading when they're finished driving it, that's our FBT report right there.
So would a daily driver consume that? Would you use daily driver to get that data?
No, it's when a driver changes the vehicle.
So I can answer this one. That data comes out of the allocation document export, because the allocation document contains when the driver starts using it and a kilometre reading, and when they end using it and a kilometre reading, which is what's essentially required for FBT.
But FBTs is personal versus business use. So in a day, I might use it for 30 kilometres personal use and 200 kilometres business use. So you need to, my understanding is FBT is that ratio between private and business use.
You can do two methods, Mark. You can use operating method as of that, or we just use statutory method, which is 20% of the value of the car, less registration plus GST, and hence that calculation, and then use the driver allocation to say this person was allocated for private use for 9 months of the year, and then we had them in the next 3 months. And kilometres actually doesn't matter anymore. They changed that in about 2014, and if you just use the statutory method, it's 20% of the value. Hence we're asking for the boxes in there for to fill it, to populate it, and then you can give that to finance in an export plus the driver allocation to say, Mark Hoskins had this vehicle worth $50,000 for 9 months, and he had this vehicle worth $60,000 for 3 months, and they do the statutory costs on that and pay the tax.
Right. So the statutory rate goes against the allocation itself, not against the vehicle. It goes against the allocation of the vehicle.
Allocation of the vehicle. And, for example, if it's a pool vehicle used purely for business use and garaged at the depot, there's no FBT applicable, or if it's a work ute or a truck or something, or a grader.
Cool. Sorry, Paul. Adam?
Right, to continue? All good? Cool. The last one, seeing as we're running out of time, that I'll just show you really quickly, that Paul suggested Arkell suggested I show you today, which I think is just a cool thing that Paul's been working on, is actually being able to embed videos in asset document / images, these documents. So I'll just quickly show you where that is on this asset over here. So if I'm on my in any view of the asset, if it's the main view or wherever else, I can go to my asset images / docs. And this gives me a display of any documents related to this asset. And then I can click on the new document to create a new one. I'm not going to go through that process now. I'm just going to show you the one that I already created. So you can see I've, in the URL field, I've put in the iframe link out of YouTube. So I've just copy and pasted that out of YouTube. So that video appears here. And then if you also want to view that from the work order, so if you want to put instructional videos or whatever else on assets, you can do that. And then Mechanic can actually access that from the work order as well. So if I look at this work order here and go to my asset documents link view option, it gives me my asset documents related to this asset that the job's related to. And I can actually just click that and it shows up as a child in this child document display by clicking on the non-purple text part of it. Opens it up as a child document. And then I can play my video and watch it. That's just a cool little last thing.
Hey, excellent. There's just a question or a statement from Forbes. I'm not quite sure if it's Anthony or Brad. That would be great for resetting service reminders. What exactly was that, Brad or Anthony?
Yeah, sorry, it's Anthony. That was me. We have trouble here with so many different procedures for resetting service reminders, which we go to YouTube for. So, being able to add that to the asset will be great.
Yes. I know exactly what you mean. Look, I think we're probably at the end, aren't we, Mark?
Yeah, I think so. Unless there's any open questions or anything that anyone wants to quickly jump in.
Yeah, I had a question, as usual. The federal fuel rebate. Adam's kindly set up a template form for us. but it's something I just want to know, how does everybody do their fuel rebates? Because, well, the report that we can't just click on a button in the system and it will create a federal fuel rebate for vehicles that have been ticked. It also adds every other vehicle that's in the system as well. So I just want to know, how does everybody else do their federal fuel rebates, or do they not do them?
This is to record when you drive off road, and it doesn't account. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, fuel tax credits, basically.
Yeah.
We're actually looking at a solution through our Geotab provider. We're using Geotab. The Geotab providers using some pretty specific data for us to try and get the best claim that we can. We're looking at, as most councils do, it doesn't necessarily mean off-road is the only thing claimable, because we all maintain the road network. So we're looking at gathering other data out of Geotab to prove that we're actually doing works, even though they are on the road network. So we're looking at capitalising on that to try and make our claims a little bit better. So we're not using basic data out of this. We're looking at pretty specific data out of Geotab to try and leverage that to get a better claim for us at the moment. So that's what we're up to.
I've recently engaged a consultant who's gone through our whole fleet and, telling us what we can claim. When the arm's being used on a garbage truck, you can claim for that. Crane on the back of a truck, you can claim for that. So they're things that we weren't claiming.
Yes.
Which now we can improve on claiming. But mine's more the report that comes out of Formbird.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, we're using a more of a data report that comes out of Geotab, and we've got a third party using that and claiming on our behalf. So
cool. Thank you.
David Tutterby actually just asked a question about how-to training videos. This is something that's actually been talked about a fair bit. It might be something that I speak to you and ask you, what are the list of the how-to videos that you would need? I suspect would you be using them for training, David?
Yes. Again, we were talking about, you mentioned earlier about engaging the operators on the pre-start checks, and you got the cohort that, are tech savvy. They just run with the sheet that, need to hold their hand. And then you've got the third lot that this doesn't work. I can't get network. The tablet doesn't work. Your system's no good. And then as always, we've got about 80 operators in the field. You might run 3 or 4 training sessions, and at the end you go complete, but you found, Bob was on long service leave. They just put on 3 new people, and you don't want to run the training again. So if we've got that training session on video, we would envisage putting it on our iLearn system, and then you allocate it to the people to do it. You'd still probably do a session for those that need it, but you've got it forever. You can use it for all your clients, and we can continue to use it, or the people that says, I've forgotten how to do it, you get them to do the refresher.
Yeah, and for onboarding and so on as well.
Correct, yeah, all of that. You tick all those boxes. And for example, during COVID, we, in the old days of, getting delivery of a new plant, and, the excavator would arrive in the yard, and the salesman would give a familiarisation, how to. Next thing you'd look around, and there was someone off having a smoke, there's 3 other people having a coffee, and then they'd forget, wouldn't see how to do it. So we actually got them to put a video, a short 3-4 minute video of how to, push this button, do that, push that lever, and the tip of body goes up, whatever. And we loaded it onto our training iLearn system. All the operators were mandated to do it. There was a multi-choice questionnaire at the end, which they had to do and pass, 80% or whatever. And again, to give you an example, we got some tippers with live body floors and water tanks. And after 6 months, one of the guys came in and he said, "Oh, the tank won't come out." And he said, "Oh, let's watch the video." And go, "Oh, you know, the video shows us how to do it." And one of the guys said, "Have you actually tried it?" He said, "Oh, no." And he said, "Well, watch the video and go and try it." And guess what? It worked. So we stopped all of that, you know, didn't know, doesn't work. And we've got it forever. And, you know, Formbird can use it for everyone. Win-win.
Yeah, I think everyone spends their weekends looking up how to repair taps.
Correct.
Stop taps leaking on at home, and so it's become the standard format of learning now.
Yep.
So, yes.
Even I was going to say just one other comment. Even like this video today, this presentation's been recorded, and we go. I can't quite remember how Adam showed us how to do that report. Rewind. Go to, great, got it. I've solved it myself.
Well, the indexing will be there, and I'll get it up there next week and make sure everyone gets an email to show where it is if you don't get that. And
we'll wrap it up.
Yep. Okay, can we wrap it up? I'm just going to say, because people got to run. They've got lots of people saying goodbye, which is great. Lachie and...
Lachie, thanks again. Marie, thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Marie.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Scott.
Well,